name is Epsilon, and welcome to another episode of Useless Cum Laude. And today we'll be talking about one of my favorite schools of thought in philosophy, and that would be existentialism. In short, existentialism dictates that life has no meaning except for the meaning that we ourselves make for it. It brings into question the nature of the human condition, the value of our very being, how we deal with freedom, and how we find meaning in an absurd existence. And some of the hallmarks of existentialism, there's an emphasis on philosophical thought of one's actions, emotions, and life. Introspection is key, and one must be able to think critically about one's own existence. And secondly, absurdity and irrationality. This is recognizing that all of existence may not make sense. While asking the age-old questions, why do we exist? Why does anything exist? Does the universe have a reason for existence? Does life have meaning or purpose? Etc. It acknowledges that we do not yet have answers to these questions. One must be able to confront this absurdity in order to live authentically. And that brings us to authenticity. Authenticity is being able to accept the nature of existence within the constraints of absurdity, life, death, freedom, individuality, as well as togetherness. And then there's anxiety. Anxiety is recognizing that human existence may be on its own. This is how we deal with the potential loneliness and emptiness of individual existence and inevitable death. Next, there's freedom. We are entirely responsible for our choices, actions, and ultimately our entire life. The existence or non-existence of God is inconsequential. Our freedom and responsibility is absolute, and nothing else acts through us. Situatedness. While freedom is considered absolute, my personal freedom exists within certain constraints. These are all things that we cannot control. For example, time, place, human biology, socioeconomic status, circumstances in general. These are all things we cannot choose, and it makes our own freedom uniquely meaningful. As a rule, existentialism is mainly concerned with human existence, and this entails the entirety of one's own existence. Being, as well as becoming, are important. It accepts that life constantly moves forward, and that we must embrace change. And finally, the crowd. As we choose to become authentic beings, we must recognize the being of others. We should always be mindful of the threat of inauthenticity, and we must learn to overcome thoughtless conformity. Those are the hallmarks of existentialism in a nutshell. And now, some of the major players in existentialist philosophy. Soren Kierkegaard, known as the father of existentialism. He was a religious philosopher who touted that truth is subjective, that humans are essentially passionate and emotional beings, and that religion can help as a guide to provide meaning to one's life. Friedrich Nietzsche. He touted the importance of the common versus the exceptional, the masses versus the individual. Both are interdependent, and the individuals who are able to rise above the conformity of the crowd, who are able to embrace risk, to live their own lives, own their own actions, are more apt to find meaning in their lives. He also professed that humanity needs to accept that we are both animal as well as rational beings. And if we accept this duality, we can more likely grow a greater human identity. Martin Heidegger. He taught that our actions define our humanity, and he coined the term Dasein, literally meaning being there, but he used it within the context of being in the world, that we are able to think about our own existence, as well as find meaning to our own being. Authenticity is critical. We must be able to find meaning within the context of life and death, and isolation. Coming to grips with existential aloneness. Jean-Paul Sartre. Our actions are reflections of our choices, and our choices are entirely our own. Existence precedes essence. Our essence, our very being, is constantly being built based on the choices we make. What we are is entirely our responsibility, and that we must respect the freedom of not only ourselves, but of others. Whew. So there you have it. That is existentialism in a nutshell. Thank you for watching, and keep thinking.